Hey, this is Ryan Jones with Serverless Guru. In this course, we've covered creating your first serverless project inside of this serverless.yaml. We've covered basic deployments, doing SLS deploy dash stage dev, which you can see here. We've covered deploying with different region like this. We've covered breaking out into external files. So you can see that our default import and our DB import are actually coming from a config file, and the config file is based on the stage, and the stage is based on what we pass into the deployment. So when we do SLS deploy dash stage dev dash v, the dash v is for verbose. This dev right here is being passed in as this option flag. And then this option flag, so now self-provider stage, which is here, self-provider stage is now dev. And so then it says go to this file at config, which is here, and then go to config stage, and the stage is dev, so config.dev.json, and grab default. And so it'll grab this default here, and then it'll grab your defaults if you have them. For us, since we're passing the stage, it won't actually go here, but it will do that for DB. And so if you remember the DynamoDB section of this course, we covered that RCU and WCU can be dynamically posted so that you can actually have multiple stages that have different deployment requirements. So maybe your production stage is 100 RCU or WCU, but your actual test or dev only needs one. And of course, when you're thinking about DynamoDB, read capacity units, which is RCU, or write capacity units, which is WCU, these are what cost the money. So this is pretty much your core cost factor, at least when you're initially getting started. So kind of the goal of this course was to give an introduction to serverless and give an introduction to how serverless actually operates. In future courses with Serverless Guru, we'll be covering things like building full CRUD REST APIs, covering website deployments, and basically creating entire projects and like the foundation for projects, and then utilizing serverless plugins to do all sorts of stuff like running scripts or doing basically deployments with serverless Finch, or breaking apart your stacks into multiple stacks using serverless additional stacks. And so these are all things to kind of look forward to and keep contact with our website, serverlessguru.com, which is right here. So serverlessguru.com, this will be the initial place that videos get posted. If you actually do enroll for courses, so you can go to all courses and hit serverless introduction, and then kind of get a description of what's actually in here. And this will kind of be the same setup for every course. And you can sign in with LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, first name, last name, all that stuff. If you don't want to do passwords, then just use one of these identity providers here, and then you can hit sign in, and you'll be good to go to start learning. Yeah, so hopefully you're excited about serverless and AWS. Specifically, this is kind of what I see as the future of all software development, whether it's using serverless framework or serverless application model, which is SAM from AWS. Whatever framework you're actually using to do these deployments, it's going to be a big part of the future of all software development. And learning it right now, before the entire industry is kind of shifted away from the traditional way of doing stuff, by having operations people and building your own servers and having to manage all this stuff, by allowing a cloud provider like Amazon or Google to handle that part for you, there's going to be a really big upside for developers, for businesses. The cost savings of it, the time to market's going to be faster, and in a short period of time, you're going to see the entire transformation of the software industry into a serverless way of doing things. And so it's the perfect time if you're building a career right now, or if you're trying to basically make yourself, separate yourself from the competition in the job market. Having serverless knowledge and skills and being able to deploy and build things on the cloud very quickly and fast, this is what every company is going to be looking for in a developer. And so hopefully that's enough information to kind of push you in the right direction. I obviously am very biased on this, but without further ado, let's go ahead and cover one more concept, and then we'll remove the stacks, make sure they're gone, and then end this video. So down here in this resources section, this is actually CloudFormation. So if you ever get stuck and you're trying to figure out how do I make this new resource, right? So in this video we did DynamoDB, but you can do S3 buckets or any service from AWS. And so with that, if you're ever trying to figure out how do I deploy this, one, you can look for a serverless plugin, and that can help you do what you're trying to do. So I would say first look for a serverless plugin that you can use to basically deploy an S3 bucket or to deploy a website. And then the second thing that I would look at is actually deploying it yourself using CloudFormation. And so how you can do that is you can look on the CloudFormation website. And so you can go into the browser and you can search for CloudFormation, and let's just say S3 bucket. And then you'll find documentation of how to actually make these deployments. And then all the way at the bottom, they have sample code. And so you can kind of like copy this, and then you can just like paste it into this section here under resources. And then you can actually deploy those resources directly from your serverless stack. So although this is a serverless.yaml file and not a CloudFormation stack.yaml file, all serverless files are being compiled down into CloudFormation up here. So this CloudFormation is actually what's being generated from this serverless file. So yeah, so let's go ahead and look at removing this. So we can do, let's see, SLS remove --stage dev-v. And this is all we have to do to tear down our stack. If you are using a different project name, I know that I used my first app. We also used like my first project as well. We'll go ahead and go into the CloudFormation console and make sure that everything's teared down. So while this is happening, let's go ahead and switch over to the console. And if we go to CloudFormation, we should be able to see that there's a stack here. If you click this and you hit delete stack, it'll prompt you if you want to do that, and we can hit yes, and then you can follow from there. So what will happen is that it will fail if you manually delete it. So this is called manually deleting it by hitting delete stack inside the console. Doing this delete through here, this is the best way to do it because serverless has permission to delete the S3 bucket that it created for you on AWS. If you do it manually, then it's gonna fail, but then you just have to say, okay, also delete this bucket that has my code, because by default, any S3 bucket, which an S3 bucket is just storing your files, any S3 bucket that actually has files inside of it, you can't manually delete, or you can't automatically delete the bucket. You have to basically say, yes, I want to delete all of my files inside of this bucket. So that's awesome. It looks like this is removed, so we can refresh the page. Looks like we have delete complete, sweet, and no stacks. And then what also you can do is go to your region drop down here. Look at US West Oregon, because I think we were deploying there as well. Check out North California and Ohio, and just make sure that you have no stacks here. And then one final thing that you can do is you can check the DynamoDB console and just make sure that there's no tables. And so that's that's pretty much wraps up everything that we've done so far. You still have this. You can still deploy this. You can use this as kind of a foundation. Maybe you want to go inside of this handler.js file and you want to actually start writing some code to connect to your DynamoDB table. So this is your DynamoDB table here, which is in this file. And so you want to maybe connect to this table and you want to start creating records and playing around with it. What you can do is you can start writing some code inside of this handler.js file. And then you can actually start making those connections to DynamoDB so that when you run this function, you can actually create a new record, you can delete a record, update a record, all that stuff. All things that will be covered in a future course when we're building a fully live CRUD REST API that could immediately start being used by a front end. So yeah, I hope you're excited. Thanks for sticking with me so far in this serverless introduction. Yeah, this was Ryan Jones with Serverless Guru. Have a great week. Bye.